A very good morning to you. Thanks so much for talking to us this morning. First of all, as I understand it, you're in Tehran. Can you tell us what you saw and heard overnight first?
Yes. In the middle of the night, we woke up to explosions, and we saw that in our neighborhood and other neighborhoods, the Israeli regime used missiles to bomb apartment buildings, and a large number of women and children have been killed. That's not something that you've been pointing out over the last 10 minutes of pro-Israeli propaganda. But without a doubt, people across the country are angered. This was unprovoked. It was an act of aggression. But of course, in the West, when they support a Holocaust in Gaza, obviously, when they support the genocidal strikes in Beirut, when they support daily murders in the West Bank, there's not going to be much sympathy for the women and children lying on the streets in Tehran. But the Iranian response will be devastating, and it will be something that the Israeli regime will regret. And hopefully Trump will be sane enough to stay out of it, because we all know that much of the world's oil and gas comes from the Persian Gulf region. And if the bases, U.S. bases, are in countries on the other side of the Persian Gulf, if the United States attacks Iran, those tiny Arab dictatorships will be complicit. And that would bring about a situation in the oil market that will create a collapse in the global economy, including where you are. So I think you should be praying that Trump is sane enough to stay out of this, but Iran will punish the Israeli regime.
Just to say on the civilian casualties, it's true that Iran state media is reporting civilian casualties. We've not had confirmation of that at present. In the meantime, Israel has said that it's struck nuclear targets.
Since you haven't confirmed it, anyone who's watching your program can go to my Twitter account and see an image of a child who was murdered and lying dead. I don't think when you want to speak on behalf of the Israelis, there's no need for all these confirmations, but when it's Palestinians or Iranians or Lebanese, everything has to be confirmed, and by the time they're confirmed, it's all over.
We'd just like to credit where the information comes from, that's all. But can I just go back to what Israel is saying about why it's carried out these attacks? They say they've struck nuclear targets, amongst other targets, to block Tehran from developing nuclear weapons. Benjamin Netanyahu has claimed that Iran has recently taken steps to weaponize enriched uranium and said that if not stopped, a nuclear weapon could be produced in a very short time. What's your reaction to that?
I think you know this as well as I, that Netanyahu has been saying Iran is on the verge of making nuclear weapons for over 30 years. For 30 years. It's very well documented. And I think many of your viewers know that. He is a genocidal liar. And what else do you expect from an ethno-supremacist like him and his colleagues? The Iranians are a member of the NPT, and the International Atomic Energy Agency, as we speak, has people in Iran who monitor Iran's program. The very same site that he bombed has IAEA inspectors in it regularly. So obviously he's lying. There's no evidence that Iran in the past was producing a nuclear weapon, but the Israeli regime does have nuclear weapons. And the Israeli regime has carried out aggression against Iran, and it has murdered senior officials, and it has murdered many civilians. The images that you see don't need confirmation, do they? You can see that's a taxi, right? Those are civilians. Again, you may need a few weeks to get confirmation for all this, just like in Gaza, when they were bombing hospitals, your Sky News was trying to say that the Palestinians mistakenly bombed their own hospitals. That's how it works in the West. The narrative is pro-Israeli, but I think the world knows what's happening. This was an unprovoked attack. Your journalists in Palestine, in occupied Palestine, can gloat all he wants, but the Iranians will respond. Iran will respond and punish the Israeli regime, because now the only way forward is to teach Netanyahu a lesson and to make sure that the Israeli regime regrets attacking Iran, Iranians, women, and children, and infrastructure that is legitimate and which is monitored regularly by the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency.
Well, yes, and the International Atomic Energy Agency yesterday said that it found that Iran was not complying with its nuclear obligations for the first time in 20 years.
That is not what Netanyahu said, first of all, that he said something very different. Second of all, the International Atomic Energy Agency is an organization dominated by the West. If your viewers go and look at which countries voted against Iran and which countries voted for Iran, you'll see that Western countries, they have a strong presence on the board of governors because they have a control over all international bodies. And you'll see that the countries that voted against this resolution or refrained from accepting it, they were from the global South, the global majority. So the fact that Europe and the United States support the Israeli narrative and the Israeli regime is nothing new. Your Sky News, Western media has been supporting this Holocaust for 20 months now and trying to be apologetic for the Israeli regime all this time. That's why no one believes you anymore. The reason why Iran is being attacked and the reason why the West is so hostile towards Iran is not because of the Iranian nuclear program. It's not because of human rights. It's not because of terrorism. It's because Iran supports the people of Palestine, and the West, the collective West, and its regional client regimes, they support ethno-supremacism in Palestine. They support the Israeli regime, which considers Palestinians to be Amalek. And when I was in Beirut, when the Israelis began the bombing campaign on Lebanon, I was there when Seyed Hassan Nasrallah was martyred. When they were bombing apartment blocks in Beirut, you didn't need confirmation, you had journalists there. Western reporters were constantly saying Hezbollah targets, Hezbollah strongholds. They were not saying women and children were being slaughtered. Even though they had fixers from those neighborhoods, they had drivers from those neighborhoods, they had producers from those neighborhoods. They knew exactly what was going on. But the Israeli narrative has to be protected. But this has caused the West to lose its credibility, and its image has been destroyed across the world. Because people know what's happening. They don't need me to explain it. People already have figured it out.
OK, well, Professor Mohammad Marandi, we really appreciate you joining us this morning. Thanks very much indeed. Well, just to let you know that in the last few moments, the Foreign